Oh, hello there. I didn't see you there. Welcome back to another delightful episode of Storytime, Building Web APIs with James Montemagno. Today, I'm going to show you how Visual Studio or the command line can easily enable you to scaffold out web APIs in seconds. So whether it's your first API or you've been building APIs for years, there's tons of cool tooling into Visual Studio to scaffold out your API and even connect you to databases with Entity Framework Core in seconds. So tune in. Hey everyone, I'm James and I'm back today with another video as a follow-up to one of my previous videos, my 7 favorite features in .NET 7, specifically sort of the new improvements to APIs in .NET and specifically minimal APIs, sort of that, really low ceremony, low code way of building APIs, so it's just like a line of code. Now I'm gonna put that video up over here or down over here, wherever that YouTube video shows up because, YouTube. Now, what I love about APIs is how easy it is to actually get started. Not only is the API really easy to map gets and puts and deletes and all those things, but there's great tooling in Visual Studio with one click can actually scaffold your API. And additionally, it can connect it to Entity Framework Core database system for SQLite or local storage, or even connect it up to the cloud. So that's what we're going to do today. So let's get started. All right, I'm over here in Visual Studio 2022. I'm just going to go ahead and create a new project, and we are going to type in Web API. There we go, Web API. I'm going to use the C# one today, so let's do that. I'm going to call it a Monkey API. We specifically created a Monkey API earlier in the .NET 7 video, so I'm going to create a new one here. And then what we can do is create this and have a bunch of options. So I can zoom in here. And you can see I have a bunch of different versions of .NET installed. I'm going to go with .NET 7. You can enable different authentication types. You can configure HTTPS. You can enable Docker if you want. Over here, you also have the option to enable controllers if you want that controller-based style with like MVC, the controller base there. Or you can also uncheck it, which is the default, what I prefer, which is the minimal API, sort of low ceremony way of creating APIs in a few lines of code. I'm also going to enable Open API support or Swagger support. And if you don't want top level statements, you can do it too. Lots of customization, all the customization. Now you can actually create that entire thing from the command line as well. Totally up to you. Now let me go ahead and just double tap on this program CS over here. And what we're going to see is that there's just sort of a few lines of code actually in here. And most of it is the class and then the get. And there's really not a lot of ceremony here. We have the map endpoint API Explorer, Swagger gen. We're going to use Swagger in the Swagger UI that comes in. That'll give us a nice sort of explorer for our endpoints. We get that HTTPS redirection. And then here we have one map get, which is the weather forecast. If I come in, I can say app dot, and I can say map. And then in here, there's all sorts of things like deletes, there's gets, there's puts, there's posts, there's all the verbs that you could imagine for RESTful services. Then it goes ahead and runs it. And here we can see that whenever weather forecast is called, this will go off, randomly generate some forecasts and go to town there. So let's go ahead and just run this here and see what happens because we have our Swagger gen up and running. We should hopefully get a API that has one endpoint of weather forecast. So I'm just going to go ahead and debug up for me here. There we go. And there's our Swagger UI. We can see our endpoint. We're on port 7066 Monkey API and weather forecast. There we go. So here I can go ahead and hit try it out, hit execute, and just like that, we have our weather coming in. Cool, nothing fancy. All right, let's go ahead and add said monkey. So I'm going to go ahead and say add. I'm going to add a new folder. I'm going to say model, and I'm going to go ahead and add a new class, and I'm going to go ahead and call it a monkey. There we go. Now I could go ahead and type all the monkey stuff, but let's go ahead and just copy and paste it in some code because that'll be a tiny bit easier. I have some demo files here. So here's our monkey. There we go. Let's go ahead and copy that monkey class in. So nothing really fancy with my monkey. I have an identifier as an ID. Name, details, images, location, population, latitude, and longitude. So all the monkey data that you could possibly want. All right, now we can compile that up, make sure that that's all legit, and it is. Cool. So now we want to create an API. Well, we would probably need some sort of database or something like that, and we know we could do an app dot map get, and then I could say, you know, /API/monkey or something like that, and then return said monkey inside of here, and I could, you know, basically create this API manually. But Visual Studio will do it for us automatically. I'm going to right click here, and then I'm going to say add. I'm going to say new scaffolded item. And a scaffolded item is something that, for all intents and purposes, Visual Studio inspects and says, we can scaffold code for you or create code for you. And here's a lot of options in here. Let me zoom in here. There's things such as creating an API controller, one with read-write actions, controllers with read-write actions with Entity Framework. We have this API with read-write endpoint. So this is the minimal API, and also one with Entity Framework as well. And that's one that we're going to pick. So look at us our create, read, update, and delete endpoints, and we just hit add. Now it's going to require a few other things from us. So the first thing it's going to ask us is here, what model do you want to scaffold? So we could select that weather forecast, but let's select that monkey. It's going to want an endpoint class, and we don't have an endpoint class, so we're just going to create a new one, monkey endpoints, and that's going to basically create a file called monkey endpoints and then put all the stuff in there. And then it's going to need a data context, and that data context is for Entity Framework. So there we go. We're also going to use OpenAPI and also this typed information as well. That's really nice with iResult instance. So we're going to hit add. This is going to go ahead and create all the NuGet packages and pull those in for us, and then scaffold the code. And it's going to inspect everything with a monkey, so we're totally good. So here, it's just going to update the dependency information. All right, so here we go. Our monkey code is here. We can see that a monkey endpoints file has been created for us automatically. Let's go ahead and investigate that. Here we have this sort of monkey API. Here we can see we're using a bunch of Entity Framework stuff. Down here we have the map monkey endpoints. And this is sort of the new part of .NET 7 with these APIs. You can map a group. So what this means is that every sort of default route is going to be API monkey. So you don't need to repeat that over and over again. So if you just wanted to be /monkey, it would just be /monkey. But here we'll do /API/monkey. You can version these. You can do a whole bunch of other things. Now what's cool here is it's created this API context. And if we go to definition, this is that DB context coming from Entity Framework Core, which will enable us to connect to all sorts of different databases, such as SQL, local storage and memory storage, Postgres, Azure SQL, all sorts of stuff. And that's what that sort of monkey context does. It enables us to do all sorts of database manipulation. So what we can see here is that this database is getting a list of monkeys and just says toList async. Here, if we do a map get, which is going to return some typed results here, monkey back, it will go ahead and find that monkey. And if it is a monkey, it'll return OK and a model and return it back. It creates the names and the open API and everything you need. So that's sort of the same things. We have our put down here where it tries to see if the monkey already exists. And if it doesn't, then it go ahead and gets it and updates it. Post will add a new monkey into the database over here, which is nice, and even a delete. So there we go. So the only thing that this has done is if we go back into our program CS is that it has done a few things here. It's gone ahead and added our database context. And here we have use SQL Server, but here I could say use, there's, I guess, memory cache, for example. And there's like SQLite as well. There's extensions that you can have in there and pull in the different packages, but we use SQL Server as the default. The other thing that's been added here, if we go down here, is this one line of code, which is calling that map monkey endpoint. So that gives us everything that we need. All right, cool. So now let's go ahead and run it and see what we get. With literally just a few lines of code dropped in there, we're going to now get our Swagger, and we have all the monkey APIs. Here's our get, post, get for a specific ID, put, and delete, everything we need. So if I go ahead and run this and execute it, we're going to go ahead and see that we get an exception. And we get an exception because we haven't specifically updated our schema of our database. You know, we just said, hey, here's our database. It hasn't actually run any migrations on it. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, there's many ways of doing this, including command line interfaces, but I'm going to let the magic of Visual Studio walk me through the process. Over here on connected services, I'm going to go ahead and double tap on that. And this is one of my favorite hidden gems in Visual Studio. This is what's going to show me all of my dependencies and services that I've registered. I can actually click on this and add a bunch. So if I want application insights, If I want Azure Storage, SignalR service, Key Vault in here, here's all those different databases. So there's the SQLite, Postgres in there, Azure SQL, there's Redis Cache, MongoDB, RabbitMQ, Cosmos DB connectors, Azure Function connectors, App Service connectors, all that stuff. You can put them in there. But when you look at these dependencies, if I go ahead and zoom in here on this triple dot, there's things that you can do. So you can edit the dependency, you can disconnect, you can actually add a migration, update a database. And here's what's really cool is you can actually generate a SQL script or even open in SQL Server Object Explorer and look at the data. Let's go ahead and add a migration here. And this is going to create our first migration. And Visual Studio is going to look at my project. It's going to look at everything that's going on. And it's going to try to find that DB context for me, which takes a second or so here as it sort of scans my code and tries to pull it in. Let's see if it'll find it. There it is. And all I got to do is hit finish. Now I'm going to zoom in here because while it runs this migration, we can see that it's actually just calling a command line, .NET EF, which is a command line tool, which adds this specific migration for the API context. And then we're done. Now, once we've created it, we're going to update the database with this new migration. So again, this is going to go off. It's going to find my DB context class names, and there it is. It's going to look for all of my migrations that I have. So it sort of looks, and there could be a bunch of them in there. And it's going to run yet another EF command, which is .NET EF database update context right there. And it runs it again. Boom. All right. So now I can go ahead and run that API yet again. And now when I go ahead and get said monkeys, just like that, we get nothing back because there's no monkeys in the database, which makes a lot of sense. So we can go ahead and add those monkeys into the database. So we could go in and, post a monkey here, for example, and put in whatever this monkey is. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to run a script down over here. So let's go ahead and open up VS Code. Here we go. And I have this little fill monkey over here. And all this needs to do is simply go off and call localhost and a specific port. So let's go ahead and grab that one, 7066. Perfect. And what this is going to do is it's going to find monkeys in this monkey JSON file, and it's going to go ahead and basically call that API endpoint here. And it's very lucky that I called that API monkey. So let's go ahead and save that there. I'm going to go ahead and say new terminal, and I'm just going to say / fill monkeys there. Oh, let's go ahead and change this over to a new PowerShell. There we go. / fill monkeys. There we go. And now that's going to go ahead and call those APIs. If I go back over into my Swagger UI, I can hit that execute again. And just like that, have all those monkeys coming into the application, which is super duper cool. Now, again, I can come into here and I could actually go ahead and generate a SQL script for my migrations if I wanted to put that somewhere else. I can also open this inside of Visual Studio as well. So here we can look at our databases that are in here. Where's it at? There it is, Monkey API. Just like that, we can look at our tables. And here's our monkey table. And I could go ahead and view data. And there we go. There's our data right inside of Visual Studio. So it's really nice, that integrated development experience. We get all of those things right there for us. Now, one other thing that would be really neat is actually connecting this up to the cloud. So what I've done over inside of the Azure portals, I've created a Monkeys DB database and a SQL Server. So that's going to have a SQL database, and it's there. I can open the query editor, and let me just go ahead and type in my password here. And what this is going to do is show us, let's go ahead and allow that to our list and okay it. And we can see our tables. There is so far nothing in it. It's completely empty. And it's empty because I haven't added anything into it yet at all. So let's go ahead and actually connect the actual database here in our API to Azure, and then we could deploy it as well. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to go back into my connected services, and we're going to add. In this instance, we're going to add, where is it at? Azure SQL Database. So now, since I'm already logged in, it'll ask for my subscription. So I'm going to go to my Visual Studio Enterprise, and I've created that database. Now, the cool part is that Visual Studio could create that database as well. You could just hit create new, and it'll create the entire database for you. Here, I'm just going to go ahead and tap on this and connect to it. Now, it's going to need a connection string. So I'm going to call it Azure Database. That sounds legit. And we have a few options here. So there's a username. So I'm going to go ahead and type that in. And I'm going to type in my password as well that I set up earlier. I also have some options like local user storage or Azure Key Vault. Let's go ahead and just do local and hit next. And it will go ahead and add now the NuGet packages, secrets, and the secrets JSON local file. So I'm just going to hit finish here. There we go. It's also going to say, hey, we need a firewall rule. So let's go ahead and set that up. So kind of nice. Visual Studio kind of does that for you automatically. And then it will hit close. That's it. Now, if I go back over to my program, CS, I can go ahead and update specifically this connection string from Monkey API context to Azure database here. And all we have to do now is simply run it. Now we've connected up. It's going to use a different connection string. And just like that, we'll go ahead and connect to that database. Now, if you've been watching literally any of this video so far, you may have some idea of exactly what is going to happen. Because when I hit this API and I hit try it out and hit execute, well, we haven't done anything with the database. I just showed you that I don't have anything. In fact, I get an exception. There's no monkey found in the database. So let's go ahead and create it yet one more time. So let's do it. All right, what we're going to do now is come back into our connected services, and you guessed it, just like I went ahead and added the migration, I can add the migration and update the database here. I can still open the SQL Server Object Explorer, generate that SQL script, or even open in the Azure portal. So let's go ahead and add the migration. This is going to do the same thing that we had earlier, but notice it's named it something different. If I zoom in here, it's called the Azure migration because it has a different context as far as what database it is updating. We may have updated our local one and not updated our Azure one. So it needs to sort of track those two different migrations. We've created it. Now all we need to do is update the database. Let's go ahead and let it find it here. And again, this will not only find that, it will find our migrations that we just created. So if we didn't create more, wouldn't have any. But if we added another one after this, added or removed a property, we would migrate as well. Hit finish, it's running that script, but this time it's running it. So it's automatically running it on that database for us. So it knows how to scaffold it out into our database, and we will be good to go. All right, let's go ahead and load this up. This time I'm going to go into our monkey endpoints, and I'm going to go ahead and just add a breakpoint here on our code. There we go. Wait, right there. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So now I'm going to hit get. I'm going to hit try it out, execute, and we should get basically 0 monkeys back. So if I go here and hit view, here we get no monkeys in our IEnumerable visualizer. Let's go ahead and this time see that we have, hasn't connected to the database because I probably paused it. So let's go ahead and do it one more time. There we go. No monkeys. Perfect. All right, cool. So now what we're going to do is come over into our VS Code instance, run that script again. I guess I could have run it from Visual Studio. There's a terminal there. But now when I run this again, we can actually go ahead and see this monkey code. I can actually export this to CSV or Excel. That's super cool. This IEnumerable visualizer, and go ahead and return it. And just like that, well, if I wouldn't add the breakpoint, I guess, where it's breaking it in the code. Let's go ahead and do it one more time and continue on. There we go. We're going to see that we get all of our monkeys back. Now, if I go back over into the Azure instance over here and refresh this, we can actually look at our tables and prove it to you that here's my monkey. I can go in and select the top 1,000 rows. And there we go. There's all the monkeys that are right there in our database up in Azure. All right, there you have it. It's sort of the power of a beautiful, amazing IDE in Visual Studio. Now, there are tons of command line stuff that you can run too, but as I sort of showed you, all those cool integrations, all those things as well, all in Visual Studio 2022. I will leave some links to the source code, but also to the documentation for all this cool stuff, and also to some of the sessions from .NET Conf 2022, showing off some of the really cool new API features. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I was inspired because I did some keynotes showing off these features features, and Nish from my team really wanted me to create a video. So I was like, I guess I'll do it, sure. I love this, and I just love sort of the seamless integration here. There's some other steps that I want to get into, such as automatically configuring CI and CD for this puppy and putting it up into Azure automatically with GitHub Actions. But that's for another video. If you want to see that or other things, let me know in the comments below. If you're using this stuff, let me know as well. I'd love to hear back if there's other cool integrations in Visual Studio that you're using. All right, don't forget as always to, gently tap that like button down there. You can smash it if you want, or you can just tap on it. It's up to you. It's your day. And also if you want to subscribe, because I put up videos all throughout every single week, go ahead and click on that subscribe button too. You get notified, become part of the notification squad, so you get notified whenever a new video comes out right on this channel. Anyways, super appreciate you watching, and have a good one.